Hey everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. This week I went to the movies, and can you guess what I saw? 3 guesses. The first 2 don't count. Yes, I saw The Flash. And sadly it was not in 3D. I don't think Warner Brothers wants to waste money on converting things to 3D right now. But I saw it in IMAX, and I got a nifty poster for having gone to see it in IMAX, which, you know, there's the Flash down there. It's very tiny. It's mostly Batman. But it was fine. It was good. The problem with it is that it's basically like, if you watched the Flash TV series, they did a whole season where Barry goes back in time to try to save his mother, and he unravels the time stream and fucks everything up. And they just basically made a feature film of that storyline, and it's obviously bigger and more blockbustery movie instead of television drama. Putting aside Ezra Miller's personal issues, he does give a terrific performance. I have enjoyed his Flash in previous films, and he's good again here, and he's even good when he's acting against himself, which is hard to do. But it's all very well edited, and the effects are all really, really good. It's just a shame that the effects aren't that good for the entire rest of the movie. Seriously. People complain about Ant-Man, and I saw Ant-Man and I was like, what are you complaining about? The effects were fine. Like, all the CGI was good. Like, what are you talking about? The Flash has some of the worst CGI I have seen in a major blockbuster movie probably ever. It's really not good. Like, the opening scene, there's this scene, it's a hospital and there's infants, but they're CGI infants, and they don't really look like infants, and it's really jarring and ugly, and you're just like, what am I looking at? And it's one of the real problems, though, is that when the Flash runs, he's like in slow motion, but it's like his feet aren't connecting with the ground, so it doesn't feel like he's running, and the running animation is also not great. But that's the problem, is that human movement is the most difficult thing to animate realistically, because you don't want to be realistically, you shouldn't be real about it. You need to be slightly exaggerated, because that's what animation is supposed to be. So there's a lot of fight scenes and stuff where it's CGI Flashes running around and a CGI Supergirl punching things, and it's not good. It does not look good. There is a lot of fan service in this movie. Michael Keaton is actually quite terrific, and very much enjoyed him, and it's great to see him as Batman again, you know, but there's a lot of fan service, and especially at the climax of the film, it just becomes fan service. The movie becomes just fan service, and the CGI is so bad, but at the same time, it doesn't completely ruin the fan service, and I was still delighted to see a few things here and there. Trying to avoid spoilers. Although I will say, spoiler alert, after the movie ends, there's credits, and if you stay through those credits before the scrolling credits, there's no mid-credit sequence before they start scrolling, but if you stay all the way to the end, there is a after the credits scene, which is not worth staying for. Spoiler alert, if you want to, go ahead, but you don't have to. It's not funny. It doesn't give you any new information. It is not anything. It's just, they filmed a scene and they just put it there. But it's fine. It ends up feeling like Much Ado About Nothing in the end, because this doesn't lead into the new DC cinematic universe that they're working on setting up. And it doesn't like end the previous one and set up the new one. It just sort of was like, here's an adventure and we're done. And it's not going to amount to anything. So I'm like, whatever. But it was fine. Like, it wasn't terrible. Like, I enjoyed it, aside from the dodgy CGI. it was good. There's a surprising amount of cursing in it, which I found jarring for a superhero movie. There's also quite a bit of nudity during one scene, which was also surprising for a superhero movie. But yeah, it was actually one of the better DC superhero movies, so there you go. Damning with faint praise. As for games, there was an Xbox showcase that happened that I did not pay any attention to because I don't have an Xbox. And I know they showed a lot of Starfield, but I don't want to look at that because I don't want to be tempted to want to play it. Because I would then have to buy an Xbox. And if I'm going to spend $500 or $600 on something, it's going to be a PSVR 2 because I know there's going to be more games for that I will buy. With the Xbox, it would just be for Starfield, and then I'd end up having to buy certain multi-platform games on Xbox instead of PlayStation just so that I feel like I'm justifying having bought this Xbox, so that it's not just a $600 machine to play Starfield. But that's what happened. Microsoft bought Bethesda, which, honestly, smart move. You get some great exclusives, you know. They're going to do Starfield. They're going to do a new Elder Scrolls game. They'll do a new Fallout. It's all only on Xbox. So I guess my Xbox would then just become a Bethesda game machine, which is also very expensive to play just one studio's games. But I'm also hoping that I wouldn't like Starfield when it comes out, because I know there's like spaceship combat, and I suck at flight simulators. So like in No Man's Sky, if I encounter pirate ships, I just run away. I try to run away because I don't want to fight in space because I suck at it and I will get blown up. So if that's like part of the required gameplay in Starfield to progress in the game, I would have some trouble with that. So I'm trying not to get into that because I don't want to have to buy an Xbox. There was a Ubisoft showcase as well, which I paid a little more attention to because there were a few games in there. First of all, there's their new open world Star Wars game that they're working on, which I'm intrigued by. It looks like it could be good. I had originally thought it was going to be Assassin's Creed with a Star Wars skin, but now apparently they're comparing it more to Red Dead Redemption 2 with a Star Wars skin. Either way, I loved Red Dead 2, so if you want to give me a game that's like that, but set in the Star Wars world, I'm in, you know, I'm totally in. So, I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one. I'm still wary of Assassin's Creed Mirage. I don't know, like the animations just don't look as smooth and good as the last few Assassin's Creed games, and I just don't know how I feel about going back to the assassinating instead of regular combat with assassinating. I need a word for that. Assassinating. So, I'm just a little wary of the gameplay changes. They're bringing it back to the old school Assassin's Creed games, except I didn't like the old school Assassin's Creed games, and that's why, like, after 2, I stopped playing them until, like, Odyssey. So, I'm like, that's one where I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait for the reviews, and then probably end up picking it up cheap later on sale. But the other game that I was actually surprised by was the Avatar game, Frontiers of Pandora, which is now totally on my radar and I'm into. Like, the story of the game is interesting, and you get to play as a Navi who, like, you know, fights the evil humans, which is, you know, that's cool. But just the idea of exploring Pandora in first person, and it looks amazing. So I'm very intrigued by this, but again, it's another one where, because it's, you know, the first game in the series, like, I don't know what it's going to be like, so I'm not pre-ordering or buying at launch. I will be waiting for the reviews to see what it is, and then hopefully I'm playing other things at the same time that it comes out, so that I can wait on it, because having too many games to play is great, because then you can wait, and then they'll show up on sale, and you can get them cheap, or even free with PlayStation Plus if you wait really a long time. But yeah, I like to wait and then get them on sale later. So, like I did with Gotham Knights. which was like $23. And like I said in the last episode when I gave my first impressions of it, there's a lot of weirdness in it that bothered me, and I was glad that I didn't pick it up for $70 when it first came out. Having played it another week, I'm getting used to these weird gameplay elements that I just find jarring. I'm getting a little more used to them. I'm also getting used to the combat, so the big guys aren't taking away as much of my health as I'm getting better at dodging their hits so that, you know, I can defeat them. It just takes a while. And I've unlocked the gliding, which now I've tried. I've only done it with Batgirl and Nightwing because those are the two characters that I've played with as the most. I've only played Robin and Red Hood once each. But Batgirl is like the Arkham games where you glide with the cape and then you have to kind of like keep grappling back up to higher points to glide further because you'll just keep going down. Whereas with Nightwing, he has this weird like jetpack hang glider thing that like you can just literally fly straight across. Like with Batgirl, I can't fly across the river because I might not make it and then I'll drown. I've done that. Oops. With Nightwing, you can literally just fly straight across wherever you're going, and it's a jet-propelled thing, so it just goes. It's weird. Speaking of jet-propelled things, I also unlocked fast travel because as soon as I got to that part with Lucius Fox where he's like, hey, I can, you know, make it so you can travel faster around the different boroughs of Gotham. And I was like, yes, please. And I literally put everything else aside and I just went around Gotham to every single area and was just like finding all of these drones to scan so that you can hack them and you can then fly freely in those areas without getting shot down by the drones. But it's crazy because instead of like a normal game, a normal open world game, when you fast travel, you just sort of appear where you want to appear. Done. And no one thinks anything of it. But they decided, no, we need an in-game reason for why you're fast traveling from this borough to that borough. And it's this big giant like Batwing, like a mini Batwing hang glider thing that you like fly in on, and it's just like, what? Where did this come from? This doesn't make sense. Whatever, it's fine. Just let me teleport into the place where I want to be. Like, no one questions that. You don't need an in-game reason, but whatever. But I'm still enjoying it, and I'm getting used to the weird gameplay of leveling up and crafting weapons and armor and that sort of thing. I have also gotten used to the fact that when you go out on your nightly patrol, you have your main mission, then you have some side missions. As I've played, I've unlocked more and more of these side things to do. And so I try to do some of those, and I'm kind of ignoring the crimes, like the premeditated crimes. I'm like, there was, in the beginning, I kept saying, like, oh, should I finish them? I feel like I need to finish those, or they're going to go away, because they go away at the end of the night. If you come back the next night, those particular crimes aren't going to be there. There will be others. And I felt like, oh, I need to do those. But then I'm like, no, because I've already done all this other stuff, and I've got like 1 health pack left. Let me just go home and go to bed. And I'm like, it just felt weird in the beginning, but now I'm just like, you know, F it. The GCPD are mostly assholes who are like shooting at me, so like they can deal with that crime. I'm out. The other thing that I did this week was I did start Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, because the 4th of July is coming up and I realized that I don't want to start the game while I'm traveling. I wanted to be in the middle of the game so that I could just jump in and lose myself in the game and not pay attention to the fact that I'm stuck traveling for 4 to 5 hours. So I started it, and oh my god, it's so jarring. Not just the fact that I'm looking at like the Xbox level graphics that are just, you know, they're crisp and high def, but they're low poly count, so yikes. But they're fine. But like, it's the actual gameplay, because I had forgotten how much KOTOR was, you know, a regular role-playing game. Like, they literally, in the instruction, like, if you go into the instructions, like the journal and everything, like, looking at the different skills and everything, they literally will say, you know, the dice rolls that you'll be making for each skill and whatever. And I'm just like, they're actually literally talking about the dice rolls. It's hilarious. So, it's very much an RPG. and it is jarring to, like, you know, you're walking around, you're examining everything, and then you get into combat, and it's like you press one button, and then you watch the combat unfold, and it just rolls, and things happen, and that's it. And you don't really have any control, and I'm just like, I'd forgotten about this. This is very weird, and it's going to take a lot of getting used to. But I figured if I play it, like, you know, once or twice a week, by the time the 4th of July rolls around and I'm traveling for the holiday, I'll be able to just dive in and, like, enjoy doing some missions and exploring the Star Wars world and make that travel go by a lot faster and easier. So that is all for this week. I will see you next episode, and I'll talk about some more stuff. And who knows what that'll be? Come back and find out. Bye!